Okay. I don't know if I privated this one. No, we are. Okay. Hello. Hold on. Give me one moment. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? I feel like we have a lot of content that I've been behind on. So I know I had another video that's scheduled today. We're going to do it a little bit later. Have you guys heard about this case? It weighs heavy on my heart. I think about it often. And I don't like to talk about crime, even though I know people have recommended it to me because I don't know if they like the topic. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. But for those that aren't aware, when you make content around sensitive topics like this, you are opening yourself up for so much scrutiny to the point where it's unwarranted. But like, I don't know. This is going to be the only video I do on this. I'll say that. But there's a woman who passed away on, well, I have a few videos we'll react to. We'll watch them together that laid it out. But as somebody who has dealt with this very, very similar, like 90% same thing on multiple occasions, and just the way that I know it presents in the news, I thought I would give my thoughts on it. I know that they just had the feds get involved. I don't want it to seem like I'm defending anybody either, because I'm really not, but like, kind of at the same point. Unfortunately, it's just one of those situations. But the way I look at it is like, if I was in this person's place, like I Googled innocence, not one thing came up. I found that shocking. So like, I'm just gonna offer my thoughts, not saying that I'm right, even though I am pretty on point when it comes to these situations, if I don't say so myself. But everybody in the chat, be really, really respectful. This is very, very big case. And I just like know how it looks to the public. It just doesn't look good. You know what I mean? Like, I laugh when I'm uncomfortable, okay? Don't think I'm being rude. Please. I do my best. Okay.
We are continuing our coverage on the death of Mica Miller, the wife of Solid Rock Church pastor John Paul Miller, who was found dead in Lumber River State Park in Robeson County on April 27th. According to the county medical examiner, Mica died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
And today we did obtain documents from the Horry County Probate Court through a Freedom of Information Act request, and they show that Mica's younger sister applied to be the special administrator of her estate rather than her husband.
The affidavits from Mica's brother and sister outline their concerns regarding her death and estate in the days following her death. ABC 15's Joel Vasquez is working for you tonight, looking into these documents. Joel?
Jen Connor, Mica's sister Sierra Francis, claims in her affidavit that Mica told her about abuse and violence from John Paul. Now, court documents confirm John Paul was served divorce papers on April 25th, just 2 days before Mica died. Now, Sierra says Mica believed people were following her and that John Paul had hired people to keep track of her where she went. Also in the affidavit, Sierra says that Mica was fearful that she would not make it to the divorce and that her life would be taken from her. Now, Sierra testified Mica told her, quote, "If I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not me, it was JP." Now, according to the affidavit from Mica's brother, Nathaniel Francis, he received multiple emails forwarded to him by Mica and John Paul. Nathaniel's affidavit states that in one of those emails, he says John Paul apologized for damaging her vehicle, saying that he was angry at Mica because she put her family before him, making him want to hurt her. Also in the court documents, Sierra said Mica told her that John Paul was moving assets from his name, like his car and their house, to the church. Now, online records for Horry County show that their home was transferred from John Paul to Solid Rock Ministries last December. We have reached out to John Paul's attorney for comment, and we're still waiting to hear back. Jen, Connor?
Joelle, thank you. John Paul Miller has not been arrested or charged with any crimes related to Mica Miller's death. To read the full affidavits, you can find that right now on our website at WPD.com. And if you or someone you know is...
Let's go to the next one. Probably should have played this one first. Following is a timeline of events leading up to the death of Mica Miller.
Sunday, October 8, 2023. Mica Miller and her husband, John Paul Miller, a pastor from Solid Rock Church, filed for divorce. They were married back in 2017. Mica's friend said she had led the women's ministry and worship team at the same church. Thursday, February 8, 2024. Mica's involuntarily hospitalized for 48 hours. Wednesday, February 21, 2024. Mica calls police and alleges her ex-husband stole her car while she was hospitalized. She tells the officer she has known her husband since she was 10 years old and that he, quote, groomed her, end quote, while she worked for him at Solid Rock Church until they were wed in 2017. John Paul tells the cops his wife suffers from, quote, episodes, end quote. Since the car's marital property, no charges were filed. Monday, March 11, 2024. 2 incidents are filed with authorities naming Mica as a victim. She calls the police after finding her tire slashed with a piece of metal. It was later identified as a tire deflation device available for purchase online. Mechanics then find a GPS device attached to her car. Wednesday, March 13, 2024. Someone at Solid Rock Church files a police report alleging Mica transferred donation funds from the church's Zelle and Cash App accounts to her personal account. Mica leaves her apartment in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, shortly after noon and heads to a pawn shop to buy a gun. 12:34 p.m. Mica leaves the pawn shop and travels on a highway, stopping at a gas station to buy gas and a drink. She heads toward North Carolina. 2:54 p.m. After about an hour and a half, Mica calls 911 from a park over the state line about 33 miles away from the gas station and says she plans to end her own life.
Tell me what's happened. I'm about to kill myself, and I just want my family to know where to find me.
3:03 p.m. Deputies with the Sheriff's Office head to Lumber River State Park, contact the park rangers, and begin a search within 30 minutes. Specialized units searching for Mica from the air are deployed. 3:50 p.m. Detectives are approached by someone fishing in the area who says they heard crying followed by a gunshot. They also found a bag a few feet from the water's edge with Mica's ID inside of it. 4:23 p.m. A kayaker in the area calls 911 to report a body in the water. A perimeter is created to secure the area for an investigation. Within the hour, the chief of detectives arrives and the medical examiner is called. 5:54 p.m. Crime scene investigation technician begins taking photos of the area, and they found Mica's car. Inside the car, investigators found a gun case in the passenger seat and ammunition in the center console. The receipt for the weapon and her gas station stop are found. 7:11 p.m. A gun is discovered in the water at the park. Its serial number matches the case found in Mica's car. Tuesday, May 2nd, 2024, John Paul Miller sits down with WPDE for an interview. During the interview, he mentioned some of the struggles he thought Mica had with mental health.
So over the years since we've been married, some people struggle with high blood pressure, some struggle with diabetes, or struggle with mental health. And whenever she stayed on her lithium, things were amazing. She'd come off sometimes and things would get a little unusual. Per her doctors, they told her even just recently they had written that she was homicidal, suicidal, and she had struggled with suicide before. And each time, helped her through it, took her to her doctor, and we got through it, and everything was fine. And so this past time was still a shock, an incredible shock.
Sunday, May 5th, 2024. Friends and family rally outside Solid Rock Church. Some in Mica's family dispute the manner of death described by her estranged husband.
This has to be at least looked into deeply. There's got to be some accountability here because it's a tragic life was lost, and it's not just as simple as somebody had some mental issues.
A memorial service honoring her life followed the rally. Monday, May 6, 2024, the medical examiner releases Mica's cause of death. They conclude that she died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Mica's family meets with deputies about the investigation. John Paul asked the sheriff's office to meet with him in South Carolina. The investigation team said they did not plan to cross the state lines. Wednesday, May 8, 2024, public records requested by WPDE are released, detailing the events leading up to Mica's suicide.
Okay. Whoa, music is popping. I find this entire case to be incredibly triggering, so forgive me if I'm like spacey. I don't know, like a good way to word like my experience, maybe what it looked like to like the public based on what public records were available, and then compare it. But there were a lot of things that stuck out to me that I don't think many people are addressing. He said in the video where the police, or not the police, the news station was talking to him, and he said she was homicidal and suicidal, which is really common, a lot more common than like Google leads you to believe. Like the issue with asylums is that the reason they wanted to defund them and allow these people to integrate into society. But there's a very big issue when you do that, and it's that you can't get somebody into treatment who needs it. And although they're not dangerous most of the time, they're more of a threat to themselves. However, like I've spoken at workshops about this, I've listened to many parents about this, and they all say the same thing. They're all like very scared for their life. I would bet money. I would bet money that the victim had purchased a gun before, or at least tried to. And you're probably like, well, that's a big claim to make. How are you going to support that? I don't know. I just said, I feel it. I bet big money on it, because the way that the public's hearing about He had trackers on her car. I guarantee you he had trackers on her car because she tried to buy a gun before. And maybe he was scared for her to do that, or scared for himself. Like, there's probably a lot more things that the police know that aren't saying, because if they really thought that he was a part of it, they would have arrested him. There's probably been more phone calls to the police. She's probably been hospitalized many years in a row, and people are not going back far enough. Personally, the person that I was close with that suffered from schizoaffective disorder, which is like bipolar and schizophrenia, had a baby. When they would get in heightened mixed states, which is like depression and mania in one, like from the bipolar side, it was like they were like drugged out on stimulants. I don't know a better way to describe meth, but with no drugs in their system, literally. But that's what it looks like very agitated, screaming at nobody. Just very, very agitated. And I knew when those moods came that he was going to be hospitalized, because they were frightening and they were a danger to not only themselves, but people around them. And actually in those states, that's when most people are likely to take their own lives. I suspect that the issue that comes with a lot of these things too is I think it all looks sketchy, because I know what forms and shit don't make it to the public. I can see why the family believes that it's a suspicious circumstances. I believe her when she said that Mica told her these things. But the person that I was close with thought the same thing about me. I was a part of their delusion. They didn't believe it was me anymore. They believed it was the double version. I was going to harm them. And so the only way to save me from that would be to kill me, so I would make it to planet heaven. His words, not mine. His words, not mine. So I wouldn't be surprised if what she was saying to her family was that. She had delusions that so-and-so was going to harm them. I bet you she thought she had a tracker on her car way before there was a tracker on her car. See, this is what's really interesting, is when you go through this whole thing where people have episodes and they're people are spying on me and blah, 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 blah. They think that people are drugging their food or putting trackers on their car, and they're not, until they do something that makes people really worried about them. And then you start to see trackers on the car. Then you start to see people watching them for their own safety. It's just that's a gist of it. We do know that it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But people think that he drove her to do it. I don't believe that. I bet you he tried to get her help for a long time. I would also guess that her age is probably 29 or 30, and I bet you this was going on a little bit before that, a couple years before that, if I had to guess, just because from experience, I know women who develop, or maybe they enter a psychosis for the first time, whether it manifests to bipolar with psychotic features, schizoaffective, not a doctor, just given my experience. I I would die on the hill. Sorry, I probably shouldn't say that. Oh, I would say that she probably was deteriorating for a really long time. Maybe not that long to some people, but like when somebody is in their 20s and they start to deteriorate, it starts off as depression for like 2 years. And then they slowly stop brushing their teeth. They slowly isolate themselves. People are talking about how he moved things into their name. I'll never forget when so-and-so took my phone number, my social security, and signed me up for Robinhood. And thousands of dollars drained from my bank account. Thousands. I'm like, how the fuck how did they do that? I actually still have the email if you would like. How the fuck do you allow somebody with mental illness? I mean, I was triggered, like, because it was all new to me. I would gather that she was deteriorating for a long time. And whenever somebody passes away, everybody deals with grief differently. But mental illness, people do not have the patience for. People have written about this, philosophers. Whenever something like this, it becomes like a mass delusion, if you will. Like people become outraged over it. The Britney Spears thing is a beautiful example. People don't take the time to think, maybe because of HIPAA, these things won't make it in the media. They can't, like, people can suffer with mental illness, but they should be fine. A lot of people are not fine, but they don't meet the criteria to be hospitalized for longer than 2 days where you can deny treatment. It's sad. I'm trying to think of, I don't know. Let me see if I type in her name. Well, because new stuff comes out, I swear to God, like every couple hours. Okay, so the FBI got involved. I think the feds or something got involved. They can get involved for a lot of reasons. And I actually think that, like, you can get involved just for there being a mass outcry about something. And maybe the cops can't release the information unless they open the case. Like, because of HIPAA. And you're like, well, they have better oversight. You'd be surprised, like our laws. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have access unless they open up an investigation. This is how fucked up our system is. You could... Let me see. You ever got roster high? What? I don't know. What do you guys think? Wait, I Googled and feds got involved. They can get involved just for there being such a big public outrage about it. It has no, like, the police haven't come out about it, but they also haven't gone into looking into him, probably because there's a lot more stuff we don't know. And if he came out about it, no one would believe him because they view him as a narcissistic abuser. Bold. It seems like the family, maybe I shouldn't say that. Hold on, I gotta let my dog out. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. Like, I could only imagine if this happened to me. Like, I was in his position. Like, it would not look good. I'd be like, release all the phone calls. Seriously. But I don't think they hold on to them longer than a year. The whole, he stole my car. My question is, why was there an ambulance? Why was she put on a 5150 in a Walmart parking lot? That's my question. Like, she just ends up in a hospital. Who called? Did he call? Was she going to Walmart to get a gun? I mean, like, there's a lot of unanswered stuff, but I found that interesting. And then he went to go get the car. I don't know. People think that he drove her to do it, that he has something to do with, originally people thought that her, but now that it came out that she like had a 911 call saying which is wild, like that can't be more evidence to people to calm down. And guess what? People have turned it around saying he probably drove her to do it. And that's what they're running with. And this is what happens. Unfortunately, this is why our mental health laws will never change, because people will insert themselves. And I know you could say I'm doing the same thing, but they'll insert themselves and be like, you know what? I suffer with bipolar disorder. I could spend a lot of money, but there's no reason that like I wouldn't do XYZ. It's probably more than bipolar. I know many people with bipolar. When you start to add in delusions, she thought she was being followed. And it seemed like and maybe I'm just I am speculating, but the fact that the police did not believe her the first time there was a tracker on it leads me to believe that maybe she's called many times thinking that somebody has a tracker on a car. And then now the one that actually has a report, there is an actual device. And I bet you, because I wanted to put one on a car before, I bet you that's why. Because there was threats that she was, or possibly allegedly, was trying to purchase a gun earlier. Wait. Father-in-law? Wait, what's that? Exclusive. Mica Miller's father-in-law, Reginald, claims she was prone to psychotic states and had previously tried to kill herself as he defends his pastor son. Reginald, I can't say that. Miller, 75, broke his silence to defend his pastor's son, John Paul JP. Hold on. In a lengthy, strongly worded email, Reginald, let's just call him Regan, insisted his son, John Paul, 44, had nothing to do with his daughter-in-law's April 27th death, when she drove to a North Carolina state park and shot herself in the head. He also made several claims about Mica's mental state and previous incidents between the couple, alleging she shot up the neighborhood 2 weeks after she married John Paul and tried to shoot herself before. Mica was a very, very, very sick young woman, he said in a statement. All have been covered up to protect her memory. Damn. Mica, 30. Oh, she's 30. Man, she's a year older than me. Whose husband, pastor, Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach, Southern. This came out today. Is Daily Mail reputable? It's been a minute. Her family have been quick to launch a Justice for Mica campaign in the wake of her death, claiming that she was pushed to kill herself by Miller's actions. Weeks before her death, Mica shared a video speaking about abuse within marriage as she as claims emerged that she was being harassed and was afraid for her life, in quotes. But Miller's father has broken his silence surrounding his son, who has kept a low profile following the revelation that the FBI is assisting the investigation into Mica's death. He told the dailymail.com, I have a video of Mica on a mission where she tells, on a mission in parentheses, where she tells last year how she took a gun to kill herself and pulled the trigger and the bullet locked in the gun. When all of this is over and they see in the second weeks of marriage, she went out and got a gun and was outside shooting up the neighborhood where my son ran out to stop her. She spent the first 3 weeks in a mental facility and all time since then. We talk about 5150 holds whenever we talk about mental health. It is almost impossible to be held longer than 72 hours. To put it in perspective, so-and-so had a gun, or I'm sorry, not a gun, a knife, like a butcher's knife, like kicking in the door where I was. And I was on the phone with the police, like, hello. And they were like, well, did he hurt you yet? Because call us back if anything changes. Like, what? And they only were held 72 hours. Okay, so just to put it in perspective, not trying to, like, for her to be in for 3 weeks speaks volumes, at least to me. It's different in every state, like, don't get me wrong, but pretty difficult to be held there for longer. Like 2 weeks is what most people who want to get somebody into treatment beg nurses for, because it exists, but most people don't get put on it, unfortunately. I think people would think it would help them a lot more. Especially because, like, the first 2 days, somebody might refuse meds, but let them sleep, 4 more days, and they might be like, yeah, you know what, maybe I do want to take meds. Like, trying to force it right when they get there where you feel crazy and you don't even have, like, your sweatpants. Like, I try to get there as fast as I can, don't get me wrong, but, like, I don't know, 72 hours is not enough time. I don't know, but that's crazy. She spent the first 3 weeks in a mental facility and all the time since then. What has been accomplished, he asked in capital letters. Yeah, I feel that. Her family refused to believe how sick she was. A lot of people. It's not just a lot of people cannot understand it unless you witness it firsthand. Ugh. She was a very, very sick young woman. Denied that Miller was with another woman at the time of Mica's death, despite Robeson County Sheriff's Department releasing a timeline of his movement, which he claimed he was in Charleston with someone he was romantically linked to. Authorities also released surveillance footage of Mica purchasing a gun in the hours before her death, along with the 911 call. But JP's father says the footage and call is proof that she was in a psychotic state before she ended her life. A lot of people can't fathom what a psychotic state is. Like, I could be making this video in a psychotic state and making up everything in it. Like, nobody would really know unless you're close with them. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like sure, there's some people that look like they're like cracked out on meth, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them speak very normally. A lot of their speech is not always pressured. A lot of it is very fluid, like, and believable. You ask anybody who's had to 5150 somebody and they get real normal when it comes to signing the papers. Just put it that way. The cops understand because most of their calls are mental health calls. But, like, if the public saw it, be like, see, the public will have a mass delusion going on, being like, he must be doing something behind the scenes. And you're like, how did I get here? Seriously. Ooh, it triggers me so much. Forgive me. Did you see the smile on her face buying the gun? Is that a distraught woman? Did you ever see any crying or upset in her voice in the 911 call? No, because she was in one of her psychotic states. He blamed her family for refusing to allow her to get proper treatment. Yeah. I remember when I got this person treatment and my parents didn't believe me. And they were there. So I felt that. Like, goddamn. Goddamn. Okay. I don't know if her family would have left her the last time her doctor put her in a mental facility for a minimum of 3 weeks and had not checked her out and convinced her she did not need drugs, I believe she would be alive today, happy, singing in church. Some of you might be like, you don't need meds, you just need certain things. And although certain cases are like that, I would, for all my bipolar friends, my friends with schizoaffective disorder, those with schizophrenia, you suffer not on meds. Like, we watch you deteriorate, and you're on the verge of killing yourself and others. Not all the time, but my personal experience, it's like it gives you your life back. We see that, but unfortunately, one of the symptoms of some psychotic disorders is anosognosia, which is lack of insight. A lot of people don't know they're sick. You're like, well, how do you know they're sick? It's like, I don't know, they're naked, knocking on the neighbor's door, asking for a gun. What the fuck do I know, though? They can just live a little. Some of us just get manic in the street, and we can spend money, but it's not just spending money. It's stealing money, right? Signed up with my social security card and linked my banking info because I was already dead. I didn't exist in their world, respectfully. Great. Still illegal, though. You know what no offense. Like, goddamn. Let's see. John Paul is accused in court documents of grooming Mica for years from the age of 14, committing her to a hospital so he could steal her car and cheat on his first wife, Allison, with underage churchgoer. Jesus. What else? She's so cute. I'm just looking at photos. It's so sad. Because when things like this happen, like, the public sees it as like once it settles, or like, she took her own life, like, it is what it is. I see it like we lost somebody to a horrible mental illness, honestly. And I can separate the two. A lot of people, a controversial take. I can separate the person from the disease, and this disease is no joke. I've seen the brain do some crazy shit. Crazy shit. You think of the craziest thing you've ever heard about in the news and times that by 100 million. Some crazy shit. It's sad. Oh, let me make sure we're okay. Like, think of dementia. Think of dementia that is a little bit more rapid in the deterioration, but like, I know a lot of dementia patients can be violent, but I'm talking like homicidal. Like, you adopted a child that was very abused and you wake up and they have a knife in front of your face. It times that by 100 million. You have no choice but to separate the disease. It is what it is. But a lot of people that don't experience it are like, they know right from wrong. Well, tell me this, okay? If they think that every family member is being overtaken by Satan, and that's not really them, and the only way they can save them is to kill them, then in their world, they are right. That's a beautiful thing. Put it on a fucking Hallmark card. God damn it. Like, they're doing something out of love. That's their world. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, but it's so tricky. And something that a lot of people don't know is like when you watch those interrogation videos and somebody who, let's say, shoots up a school starts to hear voices and it's like, that's strange. Let me give you one tip. You ask anybody with a psychotic disorder if they hear voices, no one's answering yes. Anytime somebody's doing that, they're lying or malingering, whatever it is. It's like they'll look at you with like persecutory eyes, like, no, why? They think you can like read their mind. It's scary. Can I ask you, Miguel says, can I ask you this question to you, Torshaa? What you think is the best solution for this not to happen again, in your own opinion, if I can ask? People who live in the same household, parents, preferably, like in this scenario, Mica would have had to been with the family the whole time. They had to have watched her deterioration because right now they just hear about it, you know? So I personally think, and I've rallied for it before, I'm a part of 2 organizations. I think that there should be no emergency power of attorney if the doctor can. See, it's tricky because you don't want to violate HIPAA, but like, I think that parents, particularly, or somebody, whoever lives in the same house as them, should have some authority on how long they stay in treatment. I used to think that we should be able to like force medication because for a lot of people, when you don't treat that first psychosis, it more often than not manifests. So if you do the treatment, you can almost reverse it in a way and it doesn't develop in schizophrenia. But again, you can't really draw that correlation. That's just what I've read over the years in documents and something that I wish I could have done for my family member. However, I've gotten older and I've learned that sometimes there's only like, you will kill yourself trying to get somebody into treatment. It's so sad. I feel for everybody who's had to deal with it. But I just really wish that the family could have some say in the initial hospitalization. And now that I'm like, maybe not forced medication, at least hold them there. Because the issue is that if that person doesn't want treatment, they're still a danger to the family. And so a lot of times what happens is when you try to get them 5150, they release them almost 90% of the time actively psychotic. And if we got them there and they had just kicked through a door with a butcher's knife, I kind of don't want to be there when they're still psychotic. I need a little bit more time than that to get out of the house. You feel me? I think if they held them, they don't even have to medicate them, but at least held them there so they would have no choice but to sleep. The sleep is a big thing. I don't know if you've ever been up for, I don't know, a couple days and maybe a day and you're like, oh, I feel like shit and I kind of look like I saw some shit, but you didn't. Like, imagine that on meth. It's like amped. I don't know how else to explain it. A lot of us have tried to push into Congress bills that would allow families to have more say. Because the thing about schizophrenia and most psychotic disorders, when you Google them, when do they most often appear? It'll be like 18, 19 for men, end of 20s, early 30s for women. I've spoken to lots of families, like thousands of them. I've been doing this a very long time. It's always on that timeline. And so if we know that, is it possible that your parents could still have a little bit leeway for another year, at least for the boys? You know, I get it. You can't really like authorize it later, you know? I think about this often. I don't know, but then you think about it, it's like, what if their family is bad? What if they try to lock them up because they don't, you know what I mean? Like the evil people, if you will. But the family, even the families that were shitty, you know, like not the best, neglectful, whatever, abusive at worst, I've seen them absolutely destroyed over this thing. It's so sad. So, not saying, I know, like if people, more neglectful than anything. Like I've seen highly, highly religious, like the most religious family you could think of in your head be like, I tried so hard to get them into treatment. So when I see parents where their faith is really questioned and they're doing whatever they can despite believing a certain thing, like to me, like it's obvious to me that parents can set aside their preconceived notions on medication, for instance, and help their child. I feel like, shit, I don't know. Would you guys want your parents to have some emergency conservatorship or something? Like the thing with Britney's dad, Britney Spears, that is so hard to get in this country. And the whole documentary made it seem like it's like a walk in the park. That is not easy to get at all. So, I mean, I've tried to get guardianship, which is like the same thing, and that didn't work. But now that I look back on it, it probably was for the best. Because the issue with like mental illness is like imagine somebody you know who passed away did it, but they're still living. It's a very complicated grief situation. And with everything you read online, like reversing the psychosis, sometimes with a certain medication, it feels very like time sensitive when you're in it. And there's just way too many roadblocks, and we incentivize pressing charges on somebody who clearly is mentally ill and needs to go to a hospital just to get them treatment. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. So some states are better than others, but with the whole Britney thing, you're going to see a lot of pullback. It's been talked about over the years for so long in different books. I could talk about them forever. It's just the more and more I get older, the more that I've moved on past my early 20s, the more I realize we are so not evolved when it comes to mental health. Like it's hard to like if you would have told me this shit and I didn't deal with that, I'd be like, yeah. But it's fucking hell. Think about it. You think you're gonna die. The PTSD from that shit was wild. I'm in remission now. But like, how many people have to suffer because somebody chooses not to seek treatment? I don't know. It's a moral dilemma I think about often. Literally all the time. But I'm going to end this video. I'm very surprised. I was not expecting anybody to speak out, honestly. Like, I'm curious for more information that will come from this person, even double checking and researching more to make sure that it's accurate, because I just stumbled upon that with the article above it was about the Fed thing. But don't be surprised. Like I'm not making this video to be like, justice for John. You know, like you kind of anticipate that shit when you watch the public. At least I have, but maybe it's because I'm now on YouTube. But like, if people give information, like authoritative, like police or something, or family members who witness something, take the information. Don't just try to find another reason to support your bias. It's way more situation than what the news covers. And I know people keep saying the stuff about the sister, saying, don't be surprised if so-and-so did this. It sounds to me like, maybe I'm wrong, but John was trying to tell you that they had these delusions and you didn't believe in the illness, and you still don't, type thing. And you still think that her delusions were real. Don't be surprised. I don't know. I shouldn't say anything. Grieve the way you want, honestly. It's sad. But mental illness, really, it takes a lot of people young. It's sad. So I won't say anymore. I feel like I'm going to get ripped. I might put this on members only because I'm scared. But just wanted to give my thoughts. We're going to do another video. We have to go over the same debate that we've been reviewing. I know that Rollo and Sartain were on the Saucecast show. Was it good? Was there any drama? I haven't watched it yet. I was thinking we could do that one too. Anyways, I'll be back today. So like the video, comment, subscribe, or just scream at me in the comments. It's fine.